I'm Ton Beer Whisperer going live, 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 live. Hey, how you doing? So I just tried this, the Brandy Barrel MILF. Brandy Barrel Release. So Mother's MILF is an Imperial Stout that's aged in several different spirit barrels with cocoa nibs, or I was pouring there, with cocoa nibs and raisins. And then they're blended together. Well, this is the Brandy Barrel version of that. So an Imperial Stout with raisins and cocoa. Obviously, you should get some chocolate notes, some cocoa notes. You're going to feel some of those raisins, some dark fruit-like notes that it might also impart. And then being Imperial Stout, of course, you might also get some roasted barley, some other chocolate notes. You might even feel some coffee from the Imperial Stout. But here you have the addition. Oh God, that's just divine, man. Here you have the addition of the Brandy Barrel. Obviously, you're going to get some wood near the end. You're gonna get some wood, man. You're gonna feel some of that oak near the end. But then the Brandy Barrel also will impart fruit notes. You might get some grape. You might get some other things going on. Other dark fruits. It's exquisite, man. Oh, a couple of years ago they had a sherry barrel that was outstanding, and then earlier in the year they had a rye barrel that was wow good as well. Bourbon barrel, I love bourbon barrel stuff. I like the bourbon barrel, especially for an imperial stout, because bourbon is very bold. I think, in my particular opinion, that I think the bourbon barrel adds the boldest notes. Not necessarily the most complexity, but you do get a lot of boldness from a bourbon barrel. Whereas a brandy barrel, this gives it more subtle notes, adds more subtle notes to it. Oh. But that wood just dries it up so nicely, and the finish is just gorgeous. Mm. Wow. So my confession to you all is that I actually popped this last night, but didn't finish it. Typically, I finish a 22-ounce bottle, but I did not. But anyway, I don't know if you could tell. I mean, it hasn't lost its snap. It's still plenty carbonated. The next day, I did recap it, though. I have that ability, man. I haven't homebrewed in a long time, but I still have some tools. Haven't since 2012. I keep thinking I might again, but I'm not ready yet. There's so many outstanding beers out there. Actually, I liked homebrewing when I was doing it. It was very relaxful for me. But it does take a lot of work, and I don't really have the kitchen for it at the moment, and I don't have the money to buy the special equipment to do it in another location. But at some point, Show Me Brewing has some equipment. I think it's about $200 for a brew session to do 10 gallons, I believe. And, then cost of stuff. I just don't really want to put out that much. Problem is, if I were to buy it, I would have to buy a lot of equipment over again. I still have some of my stuff, but there's things I would have to buy again. And with so many great craft brews available, I just haven't got around to doing it. But part of me really wants to. I kept thinking I might do something for the holidays, but then obviously it's too late now. Yeah, but there was a couple months ago, I thought, well, if I could come up with enough money, I would want to brew something to have it ready by the first of the year. But I never got around to doing that. And last year I thought I might do something to come around St. Patrick's Day, but I never got around to doing that. So maybe this year. I would like to do an FES, you know what I mean? I would like to do a nice big FES, or at least American version of an FES. just a big dry stout, about 7.5%. Maybe get crazy, take it all the way up to 8. We'll Americanize it slightly. Hop it a bit. I don't want to go tropical with it, just a big FES. That's what I like to do. I got lost in thought there for a second there. The aromas on this are absolutely spectacular. I gotta tell you, it's just unbelievable. I don't know what their distribution capabilities are these days. I know they're into Northwest Arkansas. I think they're even into Central Arkansas. But as far as other than that, outside of Missouri, I'm not sure if they're into Illinois or how far west in the state or east in the state they are. I don't know if for the St. Louis. I just don't know if they are or not. I'm amazed. You got these big, bold flavors. It feels very sweet initially, but it just dries up completely. You really feel that oak, and without that, I think it might be too sweet. It might get cloying. But boy, it just those brandy notes. Just you feel some of those grape-like notes. And then, of course, you got the raisin in there, and I don't know if it's due to the raisin or the brandy barrel. I almost feel some date-like notes as well in there. Some deep, dark plum kind of surfaces, which is probably from the brandy barrel. An Imperial Stout on itself typically isn't going to give you fruit flavors. They don't typically leave fruity esters. However, again, this adds the raisin, which in turn is going to give you those raisin notes, but it could give you, in interacting with that stout, could give you other flavors as well. But then again, you've got that brandy barrel, which, is going to give you some fruit-like notes. Bottom line, it's just beyond gorgeous. It really is. It is just phenomenal. I love the MILF. It is one of my favorite barrel-aged beers, but I do love these single barrel versions of, I don't know. I mean, I love the blends. I love that they constantly change the 4 or 5 barrels that they use to give different flavors. But every time I have a single barrel version, the sherry, the rye, the brandy, I just love the hell out of them. Almost makes me want want them to just leave it alone, man. Just this is it. This is perfect, man. Oh, biscuits, man. It is good. This is my last glass of it, though. I just love where you get that wood just shows up at the end and just kind of dries up your palate and lingers just slightly. Using my Christmas pub backdrop there, can you see that? Nah, it's just a picture on my TV, man. But I like it. my fake green screen going on. I got a lot of festive backgrounds for the holidays, as it were. Anyway, I hope y'all are having a good Sunday. I hope my fantasy football gets a little better than the start. Last I checked my score, I was getting my ass beat. Oh, but I am in the upper bracket, so I'm guaranteed not to end up in last, which was my only goal for the season. I hadn't really paid attention to football in about 5 years, to be honest with you. I just haven't. All sports are kind of not necessarily that I lost interest, but Seamus and I just would watch stuff together, and I just don't watch anything. And when we went to the draft this year, I mean, I had no idea. I hadn't played fantasy football. I only played once before, and that was 20 years ago. And I had a friend who had been asking me for several years. One of my good old friends here in Springfield said, "Yeah, why not? It might be a nice diversion." And I got to admit, it's been fun. And I ended the regular season 7-6, but it was good enough to get me to the upper bracket playoffs. But unless my second half teams do a little better, the 4 o'clock games, it ain't looking good for me. But I did manage to stay out of last place. So this I had this beer probably a little bit cold to start with. To be honest with you, as far as temperature, I would personally recommend this at about 55 degrees. Son of a biscuit. As you see me splash beer everywhere. Hey, the hazards of doing a live show. There we go. Just stay there. Boy, I splash shit everywhere. Just see that? There we go. You got it all over you, man. Anyway, I see. I was getting ready to wrap it up, and I should have wrapped it up a few seconds earlier. There you go. Hey, shit happens, man. I hate to spill a beer like this, but what are you going to do? Getting upset, yelling, and screaming ain't going to make it any better. So I'm just going to roll with it. I am John a Beer Whisperer. Let me get that upset. Oh, I didn't stop. I don't know if we're still going or are we not? Well, hell, I don't know if we're still going or not, but I am Tom the Beer Whisperer. Hope you're having a good one. Wow.